Every time I see someone typing away on the internet with such confidence, claiming that traditional Chinese medicine only works because of the placebo effect or it only works if you believe in it, I find it absolutely hilarious. Honestly, it's a very arrogant kind of ignorance. I only have one fundamental question for these so-called rationalists. If TCM relies entirely on psychological suggestion, then explain this to me: how do infants only a few months old, or golden retrievers and house cats who can't understand a word you say, get cured by it? Do dogs suddenly understand ancient Chinese medical theory now? Are they just feeling the vibe of the herbalist's bedside manner? Today, we are going to tear this argument apart. We are going to talk about why reducing TCM to a placebo or psychology is not only logically flawed, but also reveals a massive blind spot in modern scientific thinking. There is a trend on the internet right now that is quite toxic: people using a self-proclaimed scientific attitude to dismiss anything they don't understand. When it comes to TCM, there's always a group of people in the comments acting superior. They have a script that sounds foolproof. You go to a TCM clinic, sit in an old-fashioned room, smell the mugwort, the doctor talks to you nicely for 15 minutes, your brain gets hit by the environment and releases endorphins. Then you feel better. It's a high-end hypnosis show, pure gimmick. That sounds like someone who knows a bit of psychology, but it's actually a complete mess of an argument. Let's take a step back. Even if we assume adults are prone to environmental suggestion, what about children? Kids don't care about your logic. My child is in the 4th grade now, but looking back at when they were little, whenever there was a fever or a midnight stomachache from indigestion, we'd take them to a skilled pediatric Tui-Na practitioner. They'd massage a few specific points, and before long the fever would drop and the kid would be sound asleep. Do you really think a toddler who is screaming, rolling on the floor in pain, and terrified of anyone in a white coat is cooperating with a psychological suggestion? They feel nothing but fear in that clinic. They have zero expectation of healing. And it gets even funnier when you look at animals. Not long ago, I was filming a promotional video for a pet hospital in Shanghai. I saw a dachshund with hind limb paralysis due to spinal nerve compression. The Western vet looked at the scans and said there was no good surgical option. They even hinted at euthanasia. But the owner didn't give up. They took the dog for veterinary acupuncture. After a few months of treatment, that dachshund was standing up again. IT was even doing little laps in the park. Tell me, did that dachshund read the Chain Yellow Emperor's inner canon chone? Was it so moved by the vet's ethics that its brain manifested a powerful placebo effect? The fact that such illogical arguments can go viral is simply because the cognitive walls in people's minds are too thick. They refuse to admit that there is another perfectly functional logic to life. Why do they insist on calling TCM a placebo? Because the ruler they are holding can only measure straight lines, not curves. The Zin Biaozhen of modern medical validation is the double-blind trial. THIS was designed to verify the effectiveness of a single chemical component. If you synthesize a new blood pressure med with one active molecule, you test it against a starch pill. Neither the doctor nor the patient knows who got what. THIS logic is incredibly precise for lone wolf chemical drugs. BUT, when you force this reductionist logic onto a complex ecosystem like TCM, you get a resolution problem. I've spent years in photography, dealing with lenses and pixels every day. I know what resolution means. It's like taking a cheap, low dynamic range black and white lens to film a sunset with deep layers of color and shifting light. Your photo will be a muddy mess. Then, you look at that terrible photo and say, see, sunsets have no color. Color is a myth. Since these people want hard science and receipts, let's use lab data to give this placebo theory a taste of its own medicine. Let's talk in the language they claim to respect. First, let's go back to veterinary acupuncture. Most people don't realize there is a massive authoritative organization called the International Veterinary Acupuncture Society, 1VAS. In highly developed countries in Europe and North America, using acupuncture and herbal medicine on million-dollar racehorses or retired military dogs is standard practice. The neural cortex of a horse or a dog simply doesn't support the kind of complex expectancy effect humans have. They don't read medical journals. A few years ago, A major study on equine osteoarthritis was published in a leading veterinary journal. Scientists performed acupuncture on horses that could barely walk due to severe arthritis. According to the skeptics, the horse shouldn't improve because it can't act for the vet, but the results were undeniable. Not only did the horse's pain avoidance behavior drop significantly, BUT blood tests showed a massive plunge in inflammatory markers and a literal doubling of anti-inflammatory factors. This is a physical biochemical reaction. IT has nothing to do with faith. Now, let's look at something even more hardcore, a Nobel-level study. A top medical team, the University of Rochester, published a paper in the journal Nature Neuroscience that shook the world. They experimented on mice and found that stimulating the Zusenli, C36 point, specifically triggered the release of adenosine in local tissues. And then there's pediatric tuina. Modern gut-brain axis science has found that the human gut contains over 1 million neurons. It's called the second brain. When a TCM practitioner massages specific points on a baby's hand, like the spleen or stomach meridians, scientific instruments show that this specific mechanical force triggers mechanoreceptors in the skin. This sends a signal straight up the vagus nerve highway to the digestive system. This physical input can instantly change the frequency of intestinal peristalsis and promote the secretion of digestive juices. An infant's nervous system is pure. They react only to real physical signals. If you touch the right spot and apply the right pressure, the gastric spasm relaxes. To dismiss this sophisticated neural reflex technology as just a comforting hug is not just an insult to TCM, it's an insult to modern neuroscience. At this point, we can step out of the narrow box of curing disease and look at a much bigger question. Why is the modern world making us sicker, and why are these ancient physical therapies becoming irreplaceable? Look at the life of a modern city dweller. In a place like Shanghai, everyone is like a rubber band, stretched to the point, snapping. We are surrounded by screens and bombarded by data. Our nervous systems are stuck in a permanent state of fight or flight. Or, in this high-pressure state, the sympathetic nervous system is always on, and cortisol levels stay elevated. This has a devastating effect on the body: stubborn insomnia, digestive spasms with no clear cause, hormonal chaos, and random systemic allergies. You go to a hospital, get blood work, get scans, everything looks normal. The doctor tells you to rest more or gives you a sedative. BUT, a chemical pill, cannot fix a systemic collapse. This is where TCM's high-dimensional power comes in. TCM isn't just treating an inflammation, it's helping you find your lost biological frequency. Whether it's a needle entering your fascia or the far-infrared radiation of moxibustion hitting a specific point, TCM is forcing a stable, ancient, nature-aligned physical signal into your chaotic, noisy biological system. The moment that needle goes in, your brain is forced to shut down the frantic calculating and worrying mode. Your parasympathetic nervous system takes over, your breathing deepens, your heart rate drops, and your blood flows away from your tensed limbs back into the organs that need repair. Standing at the intersection of these two eras, we need to stop and re-examine the medical resources we have. As superbugs become resistant to even the strongest antibiotics, and as the side effects of chemical drugs take an irreversible toll on our livers and kidneys, where does medicine go? The Western warlike medicine where you cut out what's broken and poison. Every bacteria you see has hit a ceiling when it comes to complex chronic and autoimmune diseases. The future of medicine is ecological, and TCM, which views the body as a forest, emphasizes yin-yang balance and focuses on the harmony between man and nature, is likely the final line of defense for human medicine. So, the next time someone stands in front of you confidently claiming that TCM is a placebo or a tax on IQ, you can just look at them calmly. You don't need to argue until you're red in the face. You don't need to dig through ancient scrolls. Just tell them, look at the paralyzed dogs that can walk again because of acupuncture. Look at the infants who stop screaming and stop fevers because of tuina. The facts are right there. Animals and babies don't lie. Their biological responses are the most honest, hardcore scientific data there is. TCM existed 2,000 years ago without sterile labs or electron microscopes. But our ancestors, with their ultimate observation of nature and the wisdom of man and heaven as one, saw the fundamental laws of life long ago. Modern science is just huffing and puffing, trying to catch up using expensive instruments to prove answers that TCM wrote down on bamboo slips millennia ago.